My fiancée left me because I got ill. Now, she's begging me come back, but I've moved on. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and this past year has been one of the hardest of my life. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness. Before that, I was active, independent, and doing pretty well for myself. The diagnosis forced me to slow down, which wasn't easy for someone like me who hates asking for help. But I thought I had a partner who'd be there for me no matter what. My fiancée of 5 years. I thought she had my back. Turns out I was wrong. At first, she seemed supportive. She came with me to appointments, helped with some of the new meal plans I had to follow, and told me she'd always be by my side. I remember feeling so grateful. But not too long after, her help started to feel more about her than me. She'd interrupt my doctor, asking random questions about her own minor health issues. Like we'd be talking about my medications or symptoms, and she'd butt in with, I've been feeling really tired too. Is that something I should be worried about? The doctor was polite about it, but it was embarrassing. I asked her, gently at first, to let me handle my appointments. I told her it was distracting and made it hard for me to focus. She acted like I'd slapped her. I'm just trying to learn more about your condition, so I can help, she said. But her questions were never about helping. They were about making it about her. When she didn't stop, I started going alone. That didn't go over well. She accused me of pushing her away and said I didn't value her support. It wasn't just the appointments. I started noticing how she'd talk about me to her friends. A mutual friend once said to me, "You're so lucky to have her. She's been telling us how hard it's been, but she's sticking it out because she loves you so much." I didn't even know what to say to that. She was acting like my illness was her burden. There were other things too. She'd planned dinners or outings that completely ignored the changes I had to make for my health. When I pointed it out, she'd brush it off with, "It's just one night," or "Come on, you can make an exception this time." If I said no, she'd sulk or guilt trip me about ruining her plans. It felt like she didn't care about how much those things could hurt me, physically and emotionally. Fast forward a year, and her behavior got even worse. She started complaining to me about how boring things had gotten. "We never do anything fun anymore," she'd say, as if the reason wasn't painfully obvious. She was glued to her phone constantly, always texting or scrolling. I didn't think much of it until one night. I saw a message pop up while her phone was charging. It was from some guy, and it wasn't exactly subtle. The next morning, I asked her about it. She didn't even hesitate. She told me she'd been seeing someone else, a coworker, for a few months. "It's not serious," she said, like that made it better. Then she said the thing that really hit me. "You've been so distant. I need someone who can match my energy." I told her to leave. She didn't argue. She packed a bag and said we both needed time to think. For weeks after, I was barely functioning. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My health took a nosedive. Meanwhile, she was posting pictures with this guy like she hadn't just blown up our lives. Some of our mutual friends sided with her, saying she must have been under a lot of stress too. That one hurt. She wasn't the one living with a chronic illness. She wasn't the one whose entire life had been turned upside down. I focused on getting my life back together. I started therapy and joined a support group for people with chronic illnesses. It was in that group that I met Emily. She was kind and understood what I was going through because she'd been through something similar. We started as friends, but it turned into more. For the first time in a long time, I felt like someone actually cared about me. Not the idea of me or the version of me they wanted me to be. Then my ex showed up at my door. It was out of nowhere, and she looked awful, like she hadn't slept in days. She said she'd made a huge mistake and wanted me back. Her fling hadn't worked out, and she claimed she'd realized how much she loved me. "I panicked," she said. "I didn't know how to handle everything with your health. But I love you, and I want to fix things." I told her no. I'd moved on. She started crying and accusing me of giving up on her. She even tried to guilt trip me, saying, "You're not the only one who is hurting." I didn't budge. She didn't get to make me feel bad after everything she'd done. It didn't end there. She started texting me constantly, begging for foreclosure. When I ignored her, she went to our mutual friends, trying to spin the story to make herself the victim. A few of them tried to convince me to talk to her, saying she deserved another chance. She found out about Emily and accused me of moving on too fast. She said I must have been emotionally checked out during our relationship. I told her she had no right to comment on my personal life anymore. The final straw came when she showed up at my work. She was crying, begging me to take her back, and making a scene in the parking lot. I stayed calm and told her she needed to leave. I wasn't going to entertain her anymore. Since then, I've been focused on building a better life for myself. Emily has been amazing, and I finally feel like I'm in a healthy, supportive relationship. My ex's actions taught me a lot about what I deserve and what I'll never tolerate again. Before the whole cheating mess, there were so many red flags I ignored. She always had this weird way of making everything about her, no matter the situation. One time, we went to visit my mom after she had surgery. My mom wasn't in great shape. She was in pain and could barely get out of bed. But within 10 minutes of arriving, my fiancée started talking about her own health scare a few years back when she thought she had appendicitis, but it turned out to be gas. She went on and on about how traumatic it was and how no one had taken her pain seriously. I was mortified. My mom didn't say anything at the time, but later she asked me, does she always need this much attention? Then there was the time she threw a fit about my cousin's wedding. I'd been asked to be a groomsman, and she was annoyed because she wasn't invited to the bridal party stuff. She kept making snide comments like, it's weird that they didn't include me, don't you think? I explained again and again that it wasn't personal. It's just how they planned the wedding. But she wouldn't let it go. She kept bringing it up, even at the reception, making the whole thing awkward. After she cheated and I refused to take her back, she took the entitlement to a whole new level. She started spreading rumors about me in our social circles. At one point, a mutual friend told me she'd been saying I'd become emotionally abusive because of my illness. That one pissed me off. I might have been struggling, but I never once took it out on her. If anything, I bent over backward to make sure she wasn't affected by my health issues. She also tried to guilt me about how hard her life had been post-breakup. She claimed she'd been going to therapy and was working on herself, but it was clear she hadn't changed. She showed up at my place one day, holding a photo album she'd made of our time together. She said it was proof of all the good times we'd had, and that we should fight to get back to that. I told her the past didn't matter when the present was so broken. When she found out about Emily, she crossed another line. She messaged Emily on social media, calling her a homewrecker and saying she'd stolen me away. Emily blocked her immediately, but it still shook her up. I confronted my ex about it, and her response was, I was just being honest. She should know the kind of person she's dating. Her behavior only solidified my decision to move on. I stopped responding to her entirely and told our mutual friends that I didn't want to hear about her anymore. Some of them supported me, but a few kept insisting I should forgive and forget. I told them forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone back into your life to hurt you again. Emily has been my rock through all of this. She doesn't just tolerate my health struggles. She actually supports me. She's patient, kind, and never makes me feel like a burden. Being with her has shown me what a healthy relationship looks like, and it's something I never had with my ex. As for my ex, I haven't heard from her in a while. I hope she gets the help she needs, but I'm done being her safety net. I've got my own life to live, and for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited about the future. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.